Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the first series that we're going to be doing in the sort of parts videos that we're going to be releasing. We're going to be talking about the Schrader valves. Originally, we wanted to bring them in separately, but we thought it was going to be a little bit too confusing, so we laid them out like this so you can kind of see all the different generations of Schrader valves that had existed in these front ones, and then obviously the newer rocket valves are going to be the second line. We've got ones going from the Gen 1 through 4 slash universal. It works with Palmer's and AKA stuff, over to the HK Gen 2 version of their marks. Basically, it's a different piston. The piston is solid. It's not going to have a hole in the center. A lot of people get confused at what makes a Gen 2 mark, an HK Army Gen 2 mark, and that is it has different eye covers, eyes, and things like that. Your standard marks will use this guy right here, and it will also work with the HK Mark 1s, the Gen 1s of the HK Armies. Those actually use all the same bob long internals, aside from it'll use the force feed neck. That was the difference. That body was cut with that force feed neck. And then this is going to be your main valve for your 360 regs. It'll work for Gen 5 360 regs, the standard macro line 360 regs, Gen 6, and Insight. Now, the benefits of our valve, greatly outweigh the standard valves that existed in past. So we wanted to go with what was consistent, cost-effective, and that was versatile. That could be used on pretty much all the generations that have come out and existed for a lot of the Bob Long stuff. And it's not that these valves are terrible. Your standard LPR and HPR Schrader valves, they were good at that time. They had the highest flow and the most consistency. But as times change and as products change, they can become obsolete. These ones inherently had issues, not only with creeping, but also when maxed out to their highest pressure, they had major consistency issues, especially with the LPR. If you got it even anywhere near 200 PSI, this became very inconsistent. The breakaway on both of these between your stem and we'll just call it the valve base is not nearly as clean as our newer Schrader branded. So these are both Schrader valves, and this is as well a Schrader branded Schrader valve. The breakaway is a lot cleaner, and it is a lot more consistent. So what makes essentially our kits that we release with our rocket valves better? So obviously the big thing is going to be consistency and repeatability. Due to the design, it is extremely consistent over the life of your fill. So we have a smaller cross section being exposed to input pressure from your tank. Output will be more consistent over the full life of the tank. This valve takes less PSI to open than your standard HPR and LPR Schrader valves. So over the life of your fill, these rocket valves will inevitably be more consistent. Additionally, the flow was not exactly the issue with these valves. One, it was cost. So these ones are a custom-made valve. They're actually incredibly expensive. Now, we did work to try to get these back, but it was an unreasonable minimum that we had to meet, and it was just not going to happen. It really wasn't. We did push Schrader to try to make them, and they basically had said, no, we're not going to do that. So we just yielded to making, these newer rocket valves with their newer Schrader. So, and I will just let that sit there because apparently it doesn't want to sit on its card. So we'll just leave that there. But going back, I guess, to the Gen 1 through 4, this valve was similar to the Palmer's one. It was kind of a copy of the one that is in a lot of Palmer's stuff. Again, not a bad valve, just not consistent over the life of its use. And the actual reg bases, the valve base has to be changed out pretty frequently if you're an avid Gen 1 through 4 shooter. So the Gen 1 through 4, we call it, again, a universal valve. Just calling back to that because it does work on AKA Palmer's stuff. And it actually is a really fantastic valve. Now, we have other guts that are going to be released with this. So that'll complete your torpedo build, and it'll also work in some LPR products for Gen 1 through 2 as well. Unfortunately, Gen 3 and 4 use different LPR internals, so there'll be different pistons and springs for those. But all in all, this is kind of the layout of what products you have for the rocket valve. It works for all generations. Again, consistency, repeatability, and cost effective. These guys right here only cost a few cents if you're buying them in bulk. So you can go to Schrader and get this standard valve that they have in bulk for, I think they're like 25 cents a piece or something if you get, 500 of them. They're pretty cost effective. And again, longevity. I mean, if you ever need to change this, we're going to offer a lifetime warranty for it. I doubt you would really ever need it. I mean, unless you're shooting 20,000 rounds a weekend. They're just incredibly durable. And you're not going to lose any flow. Again, flow was never the problem with Bob Long guns. The flow was always, not the issue. It was really consistency over the life of your fill, consistency when putting anything under max load. So that was kind of one of the, main issues with their LPR and HPR Schrader valves. And again, I just want to say one little note to the Gen 2 Mark HK guys. This is actually kind of a necessary upgrade because in the Gen 2 Marks, version 2s of the HK Army Marks, they actually use a resurrection valve. The valve is longer than the hole that has been bored in the body. So when you're actually using it, the Schrader valve, those resurrection Schrader valves that are in those, they can't even open all the way to allow for the proper amount of flow in the gun, which is kind of a problem. So that's why we came out with this one for those, because it actually allows your valve to open all the way. So we hope that this had been helpful and at least enlightening on kind of what the differences are between some of these. And again, it's not like they're monumental in nature, but it's just a consistent upgrade versus what was out there, considering, this product doesn't exist. It no longer exists. So we've got some more videos coming down the line. Hope you guys enjoy. And we'll be experimenting with some editing and some things like that to try to make the videos a little bit more enjoyable. But if you have any comments or you wish for us to do testing differences between aftermarket valves or our valves, let us know in the comments or shoot us an email. Appreciate it. Take care.